Is art in and of itself valuable? Does the canvas or the paint that is on the canvas provide us with any value? Or is it only the context and the history behind the art of which we derive its value? Do you know, this painting is potentially 450 years old, owned by royalty, dramatically stolen, and is an enigmatic masterpiece in the case of Mona Lisa. Is it the composition of Mona Lisa that gives it value, or is it the context and the information that goes along with that composition that we get its value from?
Oh, and with that, you have touched on one of the major questions in the philosophy of art, which is now I struggle with this sometimes when I try go to galleries. Do I need to look everything up about the artist, or do I just go and make my mind up as I go along? I think in reality, like most things, you've just got to be rational about it. There's no point going to see Picasso's Guernsey and then you don't know about fascism in Spain and what the painting's meant to portray. But then there are other instances where you walk into a room and you see Mark Rothko's. Sometimes you're just meant to feel them. You can't, and trying to explain it is almost the thing that undermines your ability to appreciate or feel it. I remember going into the Tate Modern, and I didn't know much about Cy Twombly. He's an American artist, sort of abstract expressionist sort, and just feeling awestruck by his massive paintings in the Tate Modern. I didn't know anything about him, but I sure as hell went away and then researched him afterwards. So I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way, but there's something romantic, I think, about being able to look at something anew and have its beauty speak to you. It's very sort of Keats-esque with Ode on a Grecian Urn. Uh, so, great question.
I mean, I'm no art expert nor lover, if in on a sort of academic sense. But probably the most famous example would be if you went to the Louvre, for example. For €5, you can rent a headset, and you can pick on any painting, and it tells you about it. As an amateur going in, if I was then just let loose on the Louvre, I don't know. I'd just walk around and I'd see the big ones. I'd be quite, the Feast of Cana. That would be quite a striking one. For the rest, I'd be like, I don't know. But then it was with the headset, and I really got to enjoy it. And I really felt the lid was lifted on this murky art world of cloak and dagger and history and hidden context and hidden meaning.
No, of course, that's a very good point. I guess the counter to that, I agree with you, and I loved in the Louvre they have the Nintendo Game Boy guides, which are sensational.
I
It blew
felt
my
like I'd
mind
gone
when I
back
went.
15 years.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it, loved it. But the challenge to that would be, Keats, for example, he talks about something known as negative capability. He wrote about it in a letter to his brother, and it's the ability to not question too much and just appreciate things as you see them. Uh, at the end of his poem, Ode on a Grecian Urn, when the urn finally speaks to the poet, the speaker, it just ends with the line, "Truth is beauty, beauty truth. That is all ye on earth know, and all ye need to know." And it's just something about some things are greater than knowledge can grasp or the human mind can comprehend, and it's just transmitted to us, and we should enjoy that and not probe and question exactly why the artist made it at this point. Others would disagree. They're two perspectives. I think there's space for both.
I guess I can completely understand it from an accessibility point of view of if you want to get more people in, make it easier for them so they can understand. But I also think with fine pieces of art, just like fine pieces of literature, what makes them special or the things that means that they're not meant to be easily accessible. There needs to be work put in order for you to understand. And that's where you derive the value, not necessarily just understanding it on first principles. If you were to pick up a work from Kant or whatever, you can't just understand it necessarily straight off the bat without seriously thinking about it or seriously rereading it about 10 times. And I think a lot of the times a painting's like that as well, that it's only when you have the backstory, when you just sit down and study it, that's when you get the value.
Yes, I also think when it comes to, you're right. You've got to take the time, and for some reason, what you're mentioning makes me think of the gallery in which Michelangelo's David is in Florence.
Yeah.
and everyone flocks towards David, but on either sides there are 4 unfinished sculptures by Michelangelo, his Prisoners series. And you almost see how the process of the artistic creation, how difficult it is. You see these figures emerging from blocks of stone, and you think, how on earth does one even begin to start to create that? So I agree with you. And if I may, I would, it's interesting how a lot of people will, and I'm sometimes guilty of this, will look at a complex piece of art. You'll look at the academic approach of Jacques-Louis David and be like, that is so realistic and sensational, or Canaletto's canals. But there's an interesting anecdote. I don't know if it's true or not. It's one of those apocryphal stories about Picasso. He was doodling on a napkin in a cafe in the south of France. Do you know this one?
Yeah.
And yeah, he throws it onto the floor, and the lady picks it up and runs after him and says, Picasso, can I have this? He says, well, you've got to pay for it. And she says, how much will it be? He says, 50,000 euros. She said, but it just took you a minute to draw. And he said, no, it took me a lifetime. And so you begin to appreciate that sometimes Rothko towards the end might not look that complex, but it's a whole lifetime of work to get there. Same with Jackson Pollock. If you look at their early work and their later work, there's clearly been a development, even though it may not look like that on the canvas.